What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT. On this episode, I want to express my belief in Billy Napier. Florida is heading in the right direction under him, and I'm not stressing over him calling plays, and Florida fans shouldn't either. Miami is at a crossroads going into this year. If you are a believer that Miami's ceiling is winning the ACC, possibly competing for the national title, then this is going to be the year that they reaffirm that. But if they struggle, it could be a sign that Miami is nothing more but a name that's rooted in the flash in the past. And then I got thoughts on Gus Malzahn's impact on Florida State, possibly bouncing back this year. What Bill Belichick is building in Chapel Hill should really concern the rest of the ACC. And after watching Super Bowl 59, during that game, I just saw Alabama and Georgia everywhere. That game showed a lot about both of those programs and why they are the gold standard of college football. Before we dive into it, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure that you got notifications turned on so you don't miss when we drop new content. We are not just the YouTube channel, we are a podcast. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from. The JT Sports Podcast is available. Links are down in the pinned comment and description down below. Let's dive into it. There needs to be more faith in Billy Napier entering this season because DJ Lagway had the freshman season that he had last year because he was a great fit in Billy Napier's system. And a lot of the reasons for why players end up reaching their potential or not reaching their potential is heavily dependent upon the situation they go to. Do they receive the right coaching? Do they go to a play caller who can maximize their strengths and call plays tailored to what they do best? And Billy Napier did a really good job of designing an offense that got the most out of DJ Lagway during his first season in college football. I feel really optimistic about the direction that Billy Napier has Florida football heading, to the point where I don't stress over him calling plays. Billy Napier, there's been a lot made out about his play calling being too conservative at times, and he'll be best served if he just took over a CEO role and handed play call duties to an offensive coordinator. But in a recent article, he said that I've had success calling plays. It's gotten me a head coaching job. It's gotten me this far. It's gotten this program to this point. So why would I just hand it over when what I'm doing is working? And I can't do anything but agree with that. If it's not broke, don't fix that. Could things be a lot better if somebody else that maybe was a little bit more qualified than Billy Napier was calling plays? Yeah, but Florida went 8-5 last year. They won back-to-back games against ranked opponents for the first time in a few years. We are optimistic about the trajectory of this program, mainly because of DJ Lagway at quarterback. But Billy Napier is being overshadowed. You got to give him his props. He has gotten the most out of all of Florida's best young talented players. A lot of their best players this season are going to be sophomores or juniors, guys that Billy Napier has recruited and developed. DJ Lagway is only going to go as far as what Billy Napier's system is going to allow him to go. And even if you still don't believe in Billy Napier's play calling, DJ Lagway is the kind of quarterback that he can turn a bad play call into a good play, and a good play into a great play, and a great play into a home run touchdown. That's how good DJ Lagway has the potential to be. Billy Napier isn't so inept as a play caller to where he's going to ruin a generational talent. It was shocking to me how great DJ Lagway played against Ole Miss and LSU. Those were two games that were defining moments, not just for Florida during that point last year, but also Billy Napier's future in Gainesville. After they lost to Texas A&M in blowout fashion at home, remember, the first game of the season, they had lost to Miami in blowout fashion as well. It was rumored that Florida's collective already had the buyout money in the bag, and they were just waiting for the right opportunity to fire him. But he was able to right the ship. DJ Lagway was a huge part of that. But Billy Napier also got the most out of their freshman running back who led the team in rushing and a lot of their other younger players. They just gave Cormani McClain a scholarship. I didn't even think he could play when he transferred away from Colorado, and the guy ends up getting a pick six against Kentucky. And it looks like Cormani McClain going to Florida, entering a different culture that was able to get more out of him compared to where he was at Colorado, is a testament to what Billy Napier is building in Florida. So I got faith in Billy Napier. I'm not stressing over the play calling. It could be a lot better, but when you got DJ Lagway at quarterback, it makes calling plays a hell of a lot easier. If you are a believer that the ceiling for Miami football is winning the ACC championship and possibly competing for the national championship, this is going to be the year that proves if this program still has that upside, or if this is just a program that's living off a name that's nothing more but a flash of the past. This is a make or break season for Mario Cristobal entering year 4 as the head coach of the Miami Hurricanes, because now you come off a 10-win season and you came really close to making it to the college football playoffs. How are you going to build off that year? Because that's the best season that this program has had in a while. And the last few coaches that have reached this milestone, they have quickly fallen off soon after. Can Mario Cristobal beat the cycle? Can he not fall victim to the same bug that bit Mark Richt when he had a brief taste of success? He's making all of the right moves. He's winning the offseason. He always wins the offseason. He brings in a really strong portal class. 4 out of 20 of the cornerbacks that they're bringing in to improve their secondary were top 20 out of the portal. So you also have a new defensive coordinator and Corey Heatherman, who you bring over from Minnesota, where at Minnesota, the Gophers were 10th in points per game allowed, 6th in yards per game allowed under Corey Heatherman's play calling. The defense is now going to be a strength of this team. And the offense should be just as good, if not better, possibly, than what it was last year. Although you do lose Cam Ward, collectively, the team is better overall. And that should also help out the offense, because now the offense doesn't have to rely heavily upon throwing the football as much as what they did last year at times, because they got down early, like what they did against Cal and Duke, and they had to start slinging the football all over the yard to get back into it. You can be more reliant on running the ball, winning time of possession, giving your defense more time to stay well rested on the sidelines and to tire out opposing defenses as well. Miami in year 4 under Mario Cristobal, expect this to be the most physical football team that he's had during his time in Miami, because now they're built to wear you down. They don't have to get into a track meet anymore to beat you. They have a defense that can hold you to under 20 points, hopefully, in the offense that doesn't have to score 40 every single game to win. This is a complete football team now. This is the best team that Miami has had in a very long time. It seems like Hurricane fans say that every single offseason, but if there ever was a year for the U to ever return, for Miami to truly be back, 2025 is that year, because there's no more excuses for Mario Cristobal anymore. You got a great defense now. You stacked that corner. You're stacked on the front seven. You bring in a new promising defensive coordinator. You have a good offense. You got Carson Beck, a proving capable starting quarterback that has the potential to improve and possibly be a first-round pick in next year's draft. There's no reason why Miami should fall short of anything but making it to at least the ACC championship game and making it to the college football playoffs. Expanding the playoffs from 4 to 12 teams made it easier for Mario Cristobal to revive the University of Miami. And now it's time for him to deliver big results in 2025. This is year 4 now. We saw Curt Cignetti in his first season at Indiana lead the Hoosiers to not just their best season ever, but their first appearance ever in the playoffs. In 1 year, Indiana was known as a basketball school. So if Curt Cignetti can do in 1 year what he did at Indiana, Mario Cristobal should be able to do that at Miami in year 4 with way more talent. You brought in top 10 recruiting classes. You're bringing in some of the best players that you can buy out of the portal. It's time for Miami to deliver. This is supposed to be a blue blood program now, and with now it being legal to buy players, Miami has all this money to spend just as much as what Oregon and Ohio State can spend. I expect this team to compete and to do it at a very high level this year. If they can't, then maybe Miami is never going to be a program that can never win a national championship anymore. If they can't make it to the college football playoffs this year, it will show that if your expectations for Miami is for them to win conference championships or compete for the national championship, then you're being unrealistic, because they got everything this year to win it all. And there's no more excuses for Mario Cristobal. If he can't get it done, he'll never be able to get it done. Florida State can't go no lower than what they did last year. That was the second worst season in the history of their football program. And in 2025, I'm expecting them to have a strong bounce back season. And Gus Malzahn is going to be a huge part of that. Hiring him as their offensive coordinator wasn't a flashy hire. It was a huge, big name hire in terms of name recognition. Everybody knows who Gus Malzahn is. He was the offensive coordinator of Auburn when they won a national championship with Cam Newton. He also led Auburn to a national championship early during his stint as Auburn's head coach. And his offenses have been pretty solid. But what he specializes in the most is what Florida State was severely lacking last year. And if they're going to have a bounce back season, their offense is going to need to establish identity. And Gus Malzahn is going to give them that. Everywhere Gus Malzahn has been, he's always produced really efficient rushing attacks. Every running back that you plug and play into his system always produces, and they normally end up getting an opportunity at the next level. Trey Mason is one of the more notable running backs that I remember that Gus Malzahn has turned out of his offense. And Florida State, when this program is at their best, they always have a really good running back. Dalvin Cook, Cam Akers. And this year, they got talent in the running back room. And last year, they were the worst team in all of FBS running the football. They were 132nd in rushing yards per game and yards per carry. Gus Malzahn is guaranteed to majorly improve Florida State's rushing attack. They're going to have more creativity and physicality running the football. When you think of Florida State's offense this year, you're going to think of this being a run-first team. Last year, when somebody asked you what is the identity of Florida State's offense, you just threw your hands up because they didn't have one. The offensive line should improve, and you bring in a capable quarterback and Thomas Castanelos from Boston College. I don't really know why he got benched because he looked pretty solid. Maybe it was some behind the scenes things that happened, but he's a match made in heaven for Gus Malzahn because he is the perfect prototype for what Gus Malzahn wants out of his quarterbacks. You're a really good runner. You're pretty much like a running back at quarterback. Thomas Castanelos, he's really elusive, really shifty. He knows how to make guys miss. He has pretty good vision, and he's a pretty solid passer. The problem with him is that he needs to be more consistent, but he had 18 touchdowns and only 5 picks in 2024 last year. With FSU getting winning quarterback play this year, hopefully from Thomas Castanelos, and Gus Malzahn being able to provide an identity to this offense, it's going to help this defense out as well. Because now the defense is not going to have to be on the field for the amount of time and the amount of possessions that they were last year. There were games when the defense actually showed up, when the defense actually did have some effort and they had some pep in their step. But eventually they got worn down during the course of the game because Florida State's offense was going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and 3 and out. Even if the defense would come away with a turnover or they would do something good, they're right back on the field 30 seconds later. Gus Malzahn is going to fix two of the biggest issues with Florida State from last season. He's going to give this offense identity. They're going to be a physical, run-first offense, and he's going to help Thomas Castanelos provide winning quarterback play for the Seminoles. And with the hiring of Gus Malzahn, Florida State should at least, at the bare minimum, win 6 games this year. At least be bowl eligible. If they can't do that, then it is time for the nose to clean house, get rid of Mike Norvell, Gus, and bring in a new regime. But I expect Florida State to be able to turn it around with what they're bringing in out of the transfer portal. 3 plug-and-play starters on the offensive line. You got a new offensive staff, new offensive line coach, new quarterbacks coach, new everything. And ACC is not that good. So, if anything, Florida State getting the 6 wins, it shouldn't even be a shocker. They should at least, at best, if everything goes right, maybe be competing for the ACC title. The ACC is one of the weakest Power 4 conferences in all of college football. So the path is really easy this year for Bill Belichick to quickly turn around North Carolina and to get them into the college football playoffs. And the way that he's going about building North Carolina is by copying Nick Saban's blueprint for how he turned Alabama into a dynasty before he ended up retiring. Because for so many years, Alabama, every single year, was a favorite to win a national championship. But how did Nick Saban go about getting the Crimson Tide to that point? Well, he was a relentless recruiter, and he basically ran Alabama like an NFL program. And what's funny is that how Nick Saban went about building up Alabama and running that program, it's the same way Bill Belichick ran the New England Patriots. He copied Bill Belichick's blueprint for turning the Patriots into a dynasty and used that to turn Alabama into college football's dynasty during his run in Tuscaloosa. And with Bill Belichick now using Nick Saban's blueprint in this new age of college football, when you can essentially buy a team out of the transfer portal and buy some of the best recruits out of high school. The ACC should be really worried, and they should fear what Bill Belichick is about to turn Chapel Hill into, because North Carolina is going to be a direct pipeline to the NFL. If you ever were a recruit and you had parents who didn't follow football that much, Bill Belichick walks into your living room. Nearly every parent, every grandpa, every father knows who Bill Belichick is. You grew up watching Bill Belichick. As a recruit, you grew up as a kid watching him hoist them Lombardi trophies with Tom Brady. So Bill Belichick kind of sells himself. Himself just coming into your high school, coming into your living room is a walking recruiting pitch, because you know about the Super Bowls, you know about the reputation, you know about the numerous Hall of Famers that he has coached. His commitment to player development, to preparing players for the next level, is going to help North Carolina, not just in recruiting, but the kind of players that they recruit. They're recruiting players that they have the possibility to be NFL kind of prospects. That means that you're going to have a difference in how North Carolina is going to look compared to the run-of-the-mill average ACC team. North Carolina, with Bill Belichick using Nick Saban's blueprint for how he built Alabama, is going to make UNC the equivalent to a SEC program just playing in the ACC, which means that they're going to have a huge talent discrepancy compared to the majority of the ACC, because Bill Belichick is going to out-recruit nearly everybody in that conference. The ACC only had 3 teams that finished in the top 25 of this past recruiting cycle. So it's not like this conference has a bunch of stacked teams from a talent standpoint. North Carolina has a great NIL infrastructure. They put money into basketball, and they've committed to putting in a lot of money into the football program with the hiring of Bill Belichick. So expect this program to quickly rise in the ACC. And not only is Bill Belichick going to have the Jimmies and Joes, but with him having the talent, we already know he's a better coach than everybody in this conference from an X's and O's standpoint. The only concern that I've had with Bill Belichick is, how is he going to be able to handle the NIL thing? Is he going to be able to negotiate with players the right way? Well, he's had so many years of experience doing it as a head coach and general manager at such a high level in the NFL. The college game is not too far off from what the NFL is now. Bill Belichick, he's not going to struggle adapting to the college game. Great coaches are able to adapt, and this is the perfect time for Bill Belichick to reestablish himself as the greatest coach in the history of football. He has the easy schedule this year. The 2 toughest teams they play are Clemson and NC State, and that's about it. And they open this season coming up with TCU week 1. Bill Belichick should really scare the rest of the ACC conference, because these coaches know that they can't hold a candlestick to Bill Belichick as a head coach. And with the NIL back in the infrastructure that he has, the player personnel department that he's bringing in, how they are evaluating and assessing players, is going to help this program leap the rest of this conference. And with Bill Belichick stealing from Nick Saban's approach at Alabama, North Carolina is going to become a powerhouse quickly with him as the head coach in the ACC. And I would not be surprised to see this team in the college football playoffs as quickly as this year. They have a golden path to do so. Look out for the Tar Heels and Chapel Hill. When I was watching the Super Bowl, I saw Alabama and Georgia represented pretty damn well. The Eagles have assembled a Super Bowl team with Alabama and Georgia being the primary backbone of it. And Super Bowl 59 showed why both Alabama and Georgia are the two gold standards of college football. And with both teams having 13 total players combined represented in Super Bowl 59, it shows that if you want to receive elite level coaching and you want to be developed into an NFL ready prospect that can make a contribution at the pro level as soon as your rookie season, going to Alabama and Georgia gives you the best chance out of any other colleges in America to do so. Every program in college football is somewhat modeled and constructed after Kirby Smart's Georgia and Nick Saban's Alabama, because those have been the two programs that have run college football. They have been, if you want to call it, the face of college football. If you go up to a random person on the street that's just an average college football fan and they don't keep up with it that much, and you ask them, hey, like, what are two programs that you think of first when you talk about college football? They probably say Alabama, Georgia, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart. And even though Nick Saban is gone, Kalen DeBoer, during his final season at Washington, put 10 players into the NFL. 3 of them got drafted in the first round from offense. Offensive tackle, Roma Dunze, and Michael Penix. So Alabama's tradition, along with Georgia, of being a football factory was reaffirmed by watching Super Bowl 59. The Philadelphia Eagles said that let's not overcomplicate how we're going to build this team. Why not just take the best players from the 2 best programs in college football and draft them? Because they know how to win. They know what it takes to be a champion. They know the work that it takes to become a champion, and they're used to the grind. And it makes the transition from college to pro a lot easier when you play for a program like Alabama or Georgia, because that's what those two operations are. They pretty much are NFL programs. You don't get these many players drafted as much as what both Alabama and Georgia have if you somewhat weren't an NFL ran operation yourself. You know, the way Georgia recruits defensive tackles is similar to the way that the NFL looks at defensive tackles. Georgia defensive tackles look way different from anybody else in college football. When you look at certain recruits out of high school that are 300 plus pounds and they're running 4.7, 4.8, you know they're a Georgia Bulldog, because Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis are freakish defensive tackles. They're massive human beings running 4.8. Those are freakish 1% caliber humans. That's what Georgia looks for out of their defensive tackles and their offensive linemen. They just have identity for what they look for in their players, and that's the same identity that the NFL has in terms of what they're looking for at that level. They want the best of the best. They want the 1% human beings, and that's what Georgia, along with Alabama, have a lot of. Will Anderson is an X-Men. He's something that you can only build in a football factory. Same thing with Dallas Turner. Like Alabama and Georgia, when you think of crazy athletes, 1%ers, specimen, the best of the best, guys that are freaks, cyborgs, they normally are on Alabama and Georgia. And to succeed in the NFL, or at least the players that have the most success, you got to be a freakish athlete. And with Alabama and Georgia producing them, pretty much being a football factory, that's why they had so many players represented in Super Bowl 59. Devontae Smith was the first Alabama player to catch a touchdown in the Super Bowl. He also is one of the few football players ever to win a Super Bowl, a Heisman Trophy, and a national championship. There are so many key contributors of Georgia's 2021, 2022 back-to-back national title run that is a member of the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl squad this year. Jalen Carter, N'Kobe Dean, Keely Ringo. Harry Roseman is a great general manager, not just because he's some guru football expert, but because he doesn't overcomplicate it. He has an eye for what's a good player at every position, what's the baseline, and, he gets the best players from the best programs. And the majority of this team is comprised of players from Alabama and Georgia. And Super Bowl 59 showed us why these two programs are the gold standard for what every program in college football is striving to be. Even Ohio State, Oregon, some of the programs that, I know Ohio State just won a national championship, but some of the programs that have been great and didn't have a Nick Saban or Kirby Smart as their head coach, are still somewhat influenced by their approach or the approaches of these two programs.